Hello people of the internet, welcome back to Gaurav Reacts. Today we are taking a look at a video regarding my favorite childhood show, Ben 10. The title is The Franchise Cartoon Network Let Die, Ben 10.
OG cartoons were unparalleled. Remember how chaotic and funny Ed and Eddie was? Or how scary Courage the Cowardly Dog was? This episode
one of the
still
best
gives me
shows,
nightmares,
honestly, like Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Or the wild absurdity of cow and chicken. Nope, this show was disgusting. How the hell is the devil in a kid's show just casually? While all of these shows are amazing to look back on with fondness, a lot of it could be attributed to nostalgia. It's that strong feeling that can convince us a show was good, when in fact, it was probably just okay. However,
one of the best eras of Cartoon
a franchise that has
probably
aged
the
extremely
greatest
well.
era.
A show that went on to have several spin-offs, infinite world building, and exceptional writing. It's what I'd like to call an anime disguised as a cartoon. This is the rise and fall of Ben 10. This video will have spoilers, by the way. Also, it has been a while since I've done a rewatch of all the shows, so some of my info and research may be a bit incorrect. Let me know down in the comments if I got anything wrong. With all that being said, let's go. It's no secret how profound an impact Ben 10 had on kids. The premise was so simple. A 10-year-old finds a cool watch that can transform him into 10 different aliens, hence the name Ben 10. Oh, and coincidentally, the kid's name is Ben Tennyson. You know, Ben later on makes fun of Kevin for how his name is Kevin Ethan Levin.
Your name is Kevin E. Levin? You just lost all remaining pretense of cool.
Oh, what a pillock.
The episodes were always engaging because of how cool each alien was. You had the aliens that every kid wanted the power of, like heat blast shooting fire, accelerate with speed, and forearms being the powerhouse. I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, I always hated it when Grey Matter showed up. I always thought he was a jobber alien who did nothing useful. But you know,
I was a kid then, and apparently not a very bright one.
I couldn't grasp that Ben had an alien that used his intellect instead of his strength, like the other aliens. Anywho, the show got by with Ben using the same 10 aliens, but that started to change. The world building got bigger and better. Ben miraculously transformed into a new alien, which, if I remember correctly, was Cannonbolt. I remember being so stoked at the idea of new aliens being in the Omnitrix. What got me so hooked though was Ghost. This guy was a menace. I loved the build up to the reveal that he was actually Siskel, an alien that was trapped in the Omnitrix. I know a lot of people aren't that crazy about him, but his lore is too cool not to have at least some outrage. The characters were amazing too. Grandpa Max's development as he reveals that he was a plumber to the kids, Gwen learning magic, Kevin Levin being the original Albedo, that he was in essence the first interpretation of an evil Ben, Vilgax being this menacing force that always intimidated me as a kid, and so many more. Looking back at it now, the show was basically an anime. A young boy gets powers, has to save the world, has non-existent parents, mostly until that last episode that I don't even think is even canon anymore. Crazy world building, sometimes insane foreshadowing, and flashy transformations. These are all just the transformations, and the tropes only get more as the series continues. They even played with time travel in the classic series. But I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll return to this when I get to the sequel shows. Leave a comment down below who your favorite Ben 10 aliens are and why. Also, please leave a like and subscribe while you're down there. Like I said previously, Ben 10 Classic had an immense impact on kids. However, not long after it ended, a sequel show arrived.
Alien Force?
Set 5 years after the original show, we got Ben 10 Alien Force. From the very first episode, you can tell that this is not the same show you grew up with. Colors were darker, the tone was more serious. Grandpa Max is missing. Ben hasn't worn the Omnitrix in years. What the hell are these creepy looking squid monsters? For me, I was all for it. New aliens and new enemies, and building upon the original lore. This is how you do a sequel show. When Alien Force started, it wasn't afraid to actually experiment instead of just using old concepts. Looking back now, how the hell did they have the balls to do having completely new aliens that more or less function completely different than the previous ones, having Kevin become a good guy. On paper, this sounds extremely risky, and yet fans loved it. Why? Well, it's because this show recognizes that kids aren't going to be kids forever. Sure, it aired very soon after the original series ended, but it's one of those shows that adults could even appreciate. And yeah, there may have been few reviewers in the classic series because, let's face it, kids see a kid having powers, kids happy. Oh yeah, Alien Force also brought with it one of the most talked about aliens to ever grace the fandom. I remember when the show first started airing, and when you watch the intro for the first few episodes, you could see this alien, but he was blacked out, kinda like a locked video game character. And so it was revealed that this alien is known as...
but so disappointed.
How do I put this?
I'm a god.
The guy can literally do anything. He just has one major drawback. You see, when Ben enters his form, he has to argue with two different personalities, Bellicus and Serena. If these two and Ben do not come to a mutual agreement to execute a certain action, Ben would basically be stuck in and T-Rex
on
forever.
steroids.
Honestly,
Let's say
I
that
love
from
the
Dragon
drawback
Ball.
they gave him. It made for interesting characters
can
and made him
create,
very popular among the
destroy,
fan base. A bit too popular,
erase
if you ask me.
everything.
The show also brought
Like,
forth
it's
possibly the
insane
best
how
character
much
in the
power
franchise,
this
Professor
guy had.
Paradox. The guy's a time
This
walker who
alien
learned
was
everything there is to know
something
about space and time. Thinking
beyond.
about it now, if this guy wasn't created, Ultimate Alien and Omniverse would be completely different shows. Anyways, Ben is far
That
more
is kinda
mature
true,
now.
like-
And yeah, it's not like 10-year-old Ben wasn't mature. Being a hero and saving lives is gonna come with some maturity. But he was still a kid,
Yep.
and he had this cocky and rash attitude. In Alien Force, though, that wasn't nearly as present. Ben is more humble and more respectful.
Yeah,
Want
more
some help?
mature, my
Help
guy.
me? Go
A
away.
classic
me?
scene of him being not mature.
No juice for you.
Hilarious shit. No juice for you.
I'm like, what do you say fuck me for?
Well, you know everything I just said that was happening in Alien Force? In the third season, this all completely changed.
Oh, yeah,
After
they
having
ruined
defeated
the
the hybrid
goddamn
invasion,
show in
Ben
season
became
3 and
cocky
forward.
and arrogant. His character
Why,
basically
Cartoon
reverted
Network,
back
why
to his
would you do
10-year-old
this to
self.
the-
And if you were watching
one
it
of the
religiously
most
back then, you would
milk-
notice.
That reminds me, I
Sure,
should get
you
some kind of
can get
trophy
like
case.
You
it
are
is a
so full of
billion
yourself
dollar
lately.
franchise for you.
What's the big deal?
But the output
I
of
got here and I
Ben
took out the
came
bad
every-
guy for you.
I
This
will
probably
give you
happened
that.
for two reasons. One, there's a change in the writing staff, and two, Cartoon Network did what any studio does when it wasn't reaching the high numbers of the predecessor. They told the new
I like
team
the
to cater
reference
more
from
to a younger
good
audience,
editing, like,
which
height
resulted in
curve,
these
something
weird
up,
character
little height.
changes and a more lighthearted tone akin to the
Yeah,
original
dude, this
series.
was
And
so
this change was
bad.
even more present in the show that came next. Before I continue, let me briefly talk about
Ultimate humongous storm.
Ultimate Alien. After being given the Ultimate
sorry,
Disc, a
without-
device that gives him the ability to evolve
Like I have to pause say for a second. भाई मुझे एक मिनट रुको भाई मुझे एक मिनट का टाइम दो भाई मैंने ये वीडियो नहीं देखी है but before I watch this thing I also want to tell you guys that I have a soft spot for Ultimate Alien. Like that show had some grasp on me of the idea thinking that Ben can like basically evolve his aliens to their peak state, like the ultimate state, aka ultimate alien. But that concept was just so great to me. Like it's like Super Saiyan, like the first transformation is legendary, but then when you go to transformation from Super Saiyan 1 to Super Saiyan 2, the Gohan scene, it's just hit a little bit more hard. Like that peak will never come again. I don't know how to describe it, but that's my feeling regarding the show from Ultimate Alien. I know its story arc was not the best. Its finale was actually one of the shittest I've seen in a Ben 10 and like, or even in general I've seen. Oh, Vahiyat. But I have a short. What can I say? Let's continue.
his alien transformations.
Spider Monkey.
Oh yeah, evolving to a new form. That's another
Yeah.
anime trope to the list. Ben becomes famous, and this isn't really an issue,
This was
but the
a
writers
good idea
clearly
for
took
them to
inspiration
do,
from
like,
Spider-Man
introduce
with
the
some of these
identity
characters and
of the-
plot lines. And it fits too
Yeah.
because Yuri Lowenthal voices both Ben and Spider-Man.
Spider-Man,
Anyways,
yeah.
because he's famous now, he again leans more into his childish and cocky personality. Kevin also becomes
So
evil again
dumb.
briefly. A story arc that had him absorbing Ben's Ultimatrix DNA because he had to
One
defeat
of the best
Agrabah.
starting
Remember this
lines
guy? Is he even canon
an
anymore?
arc.
I'll get back to this. I guess you could say this entire plotline is again more rehashing of the classic series. As a kid, I didn't mind it, but now I can see it as a criticism. Then we got to the return of Ben 10,000. You see,
This
back
was
in the classic
so
series,
terrible.
we had an
Like, classic
episode
में
where
कितना
Ben
बढ़िया
and Gwen
किया था
get
इन लोगों ने
transported to
Return
the
of
future.
Ben
They
10,
meet
but now
future
they
Gwen,
made it
future
so
Grandpa
shit
Max,
in
and even the
Ultimate Alien,
asshole
like,
that
भाई
Ben would
बंदा
become. He's a bit of a
transform
hard
नहीं होता, तुम
ass,
लोगों से
always
power दे दो,
focused
क्या
on work
फायदा?
and putting
Ben
Max
10
and
का.
Gwen second to his priorities. Eventually,
That's the
though,
main
10-year-old
thing,
Ben
like,
gets through to
those
him,
flashy
and Ben 10,000
transformations
learns to
make
stop
the
being a
whole damn
dickhead.
thing.
However, there was another episode to do with the future called Ken 10, which was supposed to be our
Yeah,
Ben's
also
original future.
one of the
Well, as you guessed, this future never
better
came to
shows,
pass.
actually.
I
Better
assume the writers
episodes, not
intended for
shows.
this to be the future, but with the direction changing with UAF, this changed to this guy.
Yo,
Ken
I'm
10
sorry,
Ben
man, I
10,000, I
want
guess,
a
is
new Ben 10
retconned into being a
series.
parallel timeline. Paradox also confirms that the future that Ben and Gwen saw in the classic series was also another timeline/universe. I won't get into the whole episode because there's just too much to explain and too many
Yeah.
retcons. The main thing to take away is how a lot of the sequel shows' usage usage of time travel was built upon from this episode. Ultimate Alien had a controversial ending. Some people have a soft spot for the esoteric arc, where this cult worships this Cthulhu monster named Dagon, who suspiciously looks like Vilgax. The original Vilgax then fuses with the guy, becoming this ultimate threat, leading to yet again another final showdown with Ben. Only this time, Ben doesn't use the Omnitrix. He uses a sword called Ascalon, which was also created by Azimuth. This thing can basically warp reality. But shit, would you look at this? Vilgax in his ultimate form, Ben using a similar but completely different overpowered device. This is what all their encounters were leading up to. A final ultimate climax. The fight of the century. A fight that's gonna be talked about for years.
Got all my power absorbed.
And thus became the most forgettable final battle in the whole franchise, if you can even call it that. I did, however, like the ending, where Ben is tempted to use the sword, the Ultimatrix, and Dagon's power to get rid of all evil on Earth. The cost? Becoming a god. With the help of Gwen, Kevin, and Julie, he snaps out of it, and we get a nice quick montage sequence. We now get to Omniverse. Gwen leaves for college, taking Kevin with her, leaving Ben all alone, or so it would seem. Enter another goated character named Rook. So in essence, Ben 10 has now become a buddy cop show. Love the dynamic between these two characters. We do get cameos from Gwen and Kevin here and there, and we get some amazing concepts like the Nematrix and malware. But you see, Omniverse didn't just take place in the present. We also sometimes flash back to the past, to 11-year-old Ben. The show plays with non-linearity often, jumping back between these 2 points in time. But with that comes a great cost. Retcons and inconsistencies. Don't get me wrong, Omniverse had some insanely sick concepts. The show had a full story arc dedicated to feedback, supposedly one of Ben's favorite aliens when he was 11. But thanks to this evil upgrade-looking bastard called malware, feedback was killed and erased from the Omnitrix, leaving Ben distraught and depressed. We get a cool scene where present Ben and young Ben talk, metaphorically, where he forgives himself. This epiphanic moment leads to feedback's return. But let's just pause here for a second. So you're meaning to tell me that feedback was a new alien Ben got sometime after the classic series ended, but in Alien Force there was no mention of him? Even with Chromastone practically having the same powers as feedback, we didn't get a slight smile from Ben or even a mention. A simple answer obviously is that the writers hadn't thought of feedback yet, which is normal. The writers have stated multiple times that they make up things as they go. But you see, there's a piece of headcanon among the fandom which I fully chose to believe. In Alien Force, it is stated that Ben had stopped using the Omnitrix for a while. We have never been given a reason for this though. The closest thing we have is how the writers originally intended for the loss of feedback to be the reason he took off the watch. This was, however, changed and never implemented in the show. Personally, that is a great reason for him to put it down. It's a tragic loss for an 11-year-old to go through, and it segues perfectly into the more mature Ben we saw in Alien Force. You could also make the argument that the reason feedback is never mentioned in UAF is because Ben blocked it out mentally, or just doesn't want to talk about it at all. But with this constant going back and forth between the past and present came a lot of timeline confusion and retcons, like how Kevin had come after Ben with a new amalgam form sometime after the classic series ended. Which leads me to question, what is the real reason for including 11-year-old Ben? You guessed it. Cartoon Network did not want to let go of classic Ben. After all, he's the iteration of the character that brought the IP its initial popularity. Kind of related to this, Omniverse had some really questionable aliens. What the f is Blocks? You're telling me a Lego alien exists? Also, there was a portion of the series that had this guy called Skurd attached to Ben, which gave him the ability to use some of his different alien powers while being in another form. As a kid, I just thought it was some cool thing. But looking back now, I can totally see the corporate side of things. Clearly, this was a way to get new toys on the market. However, this toy line apparently was cancelled. Omniverse also retconned Kevin's backstory, like a ridiculous amount. In Alien Force, it was retconned that Kevin's dad was a plumber who worked alongside Grandpa Max and was killed by this dude called Ragnarok. It was also revealed that Kevin is an Osmosian, an alien that can absorb power. While in Omniverse, it turns out that was a load of BS. There's this guy called Cervantes, a former plumber who conducted experiments on aliens and humans. One of these experiments was Kevin. So his entire backstory involving his father, non-existent. His entire backstory of being an Osmosian, they aren't aliens, but apparently what Cervantes called mutants. So what, Agrigor was a mutant, not an alien? What about
fastest course to Osmos 5?
That just makes no fucking sense. I mean, it's just bullshit.
Agreed.
Fuck. Oh my.
Anywho, this is what happens when new writers come in with a new vision. Personally, it's not a huge deal, but I still think it would have made the show less retcon, and it would have flowed better with the previous series if they expanded upon the original lore. Omniverse's final arc had everything to do with time travel and the multiverse. This was our Spider-Verse and Multiverse of Madness before the MCU shit on the concept. As a kid, I loved it. It was awesome to see Gwen 10 back and seeing Ben 10K, yes, a new version of Ben 10,000, which was also the reason for how Alien Fusions became canon. You guessed it, more toys. The Time War was a great story arc, having it end with another retcon, that Ben himself was the reason he got the Omnitrix in the first place. Oh yeah, this arc was also subtly foreshadowed back in Alien Force.
You saved the world dozens of times.
Oh yeah.
Hundreds, actually. In fact, on one occasion, you and I worked together to save the entire universe. Never mind.
Overall, the final arc had some ups and downs, but ultimately I was satisfied. There's a lot I didn't get into about Omniverse, which I would love to dive further into. Let me know down below if you guys want that. And that's the story of Ben 10. Nothing else came after this. It was a complete package of 3 shows with a mostly coherent story that was never coming back. No. I haven't seen the reboot series. I watched the first few episodes when it came out, but I lost interest pretty quickly. Ben is a kid again. The show is now more lighthearted in tone and clearly intended for a new generation of kids. I saw from a distance that some interesting concepts came into play, where Ben turns into Vilgax and how the original series somehow played a part. I haven't even seen this episode, but I assume it's more multiversal shenanigans.
It's the universe. We're in the space beyond.
Then what's that?
Damn. That is
the next universe over. I don't like it at all. The physics are terribly counterintuitive.
After already experiencing a great story with the 3 shows, this change to a lighthearted tone was something that was of no interest to me. I assume this is because of the network wanting to gain more viewership and thus more money by catering to kids. And that's what I think ultimately caused the downfall of Ben 10. The inconsistent writing of Ben's character, the reboot series, and even some questionable Omniverse inclusions are where the show was at its weakest. The reboot series, in my opinion, took a step back and no longer focused on evolving the franchise as a whole. But with all that being said, I can safely say that all of these shows, including and especially Ben 10 Classic, have aged extremely well. Sure, nostalgia is there, but I still believe the world building and lore were amazing regardless of that. Let me just end with this. There's one thing most fans want: a new show that would be incredible for the future of Ben 10. You like that? You like what I did there? Most of us want an Adult Swim show of Ben 10,000. Now hear me out. I know this whole put it on Adult Swim and have it be dark scenario has become really played out, but let me just give you a key example of why and how this could work. You remember Samurai Jack? This show had a great story with a compelling villain. The problem was it never had an ending. So in 2017, Genndy Tartakovsky came back and had the final season air on Adult Swim. Now, despite it having a rushed ending, studio execs stopped giving showrunners less time. The first few episodes are peak fiction. It's a lot more mature than the show ever was. There's blood, there's themes of depression and guilt. It was a natural evolution of the show because everyone who watched it was no longer a kid. I'm sorry, but having Jack kill a human and his psyche breaking because in the original show he only ever killed robots was amazing storytelling. So why shouldn't Ben 10 get the same treatment? You know, most fans who grew up with the show are all grown up now, right? We've seen almost everything the show can throw at us, except it taking a much more mature tone, much more mature than Alien Force ever was. Imagine having a story about Ben 10,000 much later in the future, but he suffered major losses in his life, like Max permanently this time, or even Kevin. We get a show that has Ben put in a position he's never been in before. I want this series to come back, but as a natural evolution of the show. Ben 10 deserves to be remembered. It deserves something more. Please leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. Do you guys want me to break down specific episodes in Ben 10? Leave some suggestions down below. Check out Gamer Subs down below, and please check out my other cartoon videos here. Thanks for watching.
Please bring Ben 10 back. I need a new Ben 10 show, for God's sakes, Warner Bros. Please bring my goated show back. It was my childhood. Also, regarding the video was definitely well put, thought together, I would say. Why, from starting to the end, it covered the whole journey, to the reboot, to then what the guy wants who created the video. So that was good. Make sure to check out the original video, link to all the creator and the video in the description. And while you are there, make sure to like and subscribe this video, and catch you on the next one. Peace.